Hello and welcome to the Winter 2021 InterGens Ensemble final performance. We're so excited you're here with us. My name's Liam and my pronouns are he, him. I'm a teaching artist for InterGens and I'm also the Education and Engagement Assistant at Goodman Theater.
Hi, I'm Deb Lewis. I am also a teaching artist with InterGens, and I also teach in the Generations program.
So a question we get a lot is, what exactly is InterGens? This program has been around about 10 years, and it was first envisioned by the Walter Director of Education, Willa Taylor, as a way to bring together students in our Generations programs with students in our youth summer programs, such as Playbuild and the Musical Theater Intensive. And this was because a lot of the conversations that we were having in those programs were really similar. Conversations about sometimes being overlooked, conversations about having a lot of creative energy and figuring out where to point it, conversations about politics and our lives and everything you can imagine. Too often, I think we separate out by age who gets to have those conversations with each other. And InterGens is all about changing that. And this session, we were really excited to work with this wonderful ensemble to talk a little bit about succession.
Yes, our theme this time is succession, and that came from talking about how things kind of felt as the year and the InterGen session were beginning. We had just come through an election, still dealing with the pandemic, still a lot of strife just across the country due to racism and other current issues. And it felt like we were entering a time where we needed to recover something. And succession is a term for when a forest has undergone some kind of disaster or a natural area has undergone some kind of disaster, and how that area will slowly recover. There will be a period of dormancy. There will be pioneer species that come in, and the stages will show up through the course of the performance. But that's how our theme was selected this time.
And we're really excited to see all the story and all the incredible Zoom theater that this ensemble has made with that theme in mind. I feel like we've talked enough. I want to get the show started. So without further ado, the Winter 2021 InterGens Ensemble and their show, Succession.
No! No! No!
What is life? New beginnings usually start with when we get out of bed in the morning and start our day, holding on to our hopes, dreams, and ambitions. Going to work, meeting our friends, love, happiness, finding out what gives us purpose. The challenges we endure in our life. Fear of change, to make others happy rather than yourself. Having grief, pain, sadness, destruction, anger, stress, greed, obsession of power, control, the lack of self-control to keep the fire within us contained.
Imperialism is a sinister beast.
My soul remembers Africa.
It extracts sustenance from calamity, reduces endemic peoples and histories into thoughtless casualties, buried and disappeared.
The Africa before the plunderers of the land, before the looters of the gold, the ivory, diamonds, the coltan. My soul remembers the sounds, the food, the language, the names. Ashabi, Agbeko, Mandisa, Seku, Oluremi, Uchefuna.
Western ascendancy thus embodies this barbarity. It is ineradicable from violence.
My soul painfully recalls the Middle Passage, the real pandemic, crammed like sardines into bowels of ships with my cousins in vomit and piss and shit and tears.
Mama? Mama! Mama! I can't breathe. Oh, I can't breathe. Can't breathe.
If we are to examine the condition of the global South, tracing the origin of any major disturbance, the bitter legacy of colonization will always overwhelm our palate.
My soul remembers the fields working sun up to sundown. My soul remembers the babies produced from rapes of greedy masters.
1884 marks the genesis of the scramble for Africa, a parasitic contagion infesting African territory and a human-made disaster for which atonement has never been received.
I have not forgotten squatting between stalks of fluffy cotton, pushing out a life I would never know for the 8th time by the time I was 24. Each time I had to get right back up, right back to work as my babies were whisked off for sale to another wicked plantation. I still remember my baby's cries. Scarred, bruised, tattered, torn, still brave.
Still brave.
Still brave.
Still brave.
I remember the greatness. So today, I light candles and I burn herbs. I rename myself, not just for Kwanzaa, for Black History Month. I eat fufu. I stand under the moonlit sky, communing with the same moon my sister Rakina views from her yard in Uganda. Some nights, I think I see her way back. I sing, na na ne, bumfole na na ne. I remember to keep my promise to never forget.
Any college student looks forward to their 21st birthday. Whether it is a trip to Vegas to spend the night at a casino or popping a bottle of champagne at a college bar, this day encapsulates a turning point in the life of a young adult. February 22nd, 2021, my sister Emma's 21st birthday. The day was quite poetic, actually. Poetic in an Edgar Allan Poe sort of way, where this raven of death loomed nearby. Instead of having her hair held back by a friend while a night full of childish fun and regret hurled into a bucket at a club, she spent the morning of her 21st birthday holding a bucket for my dad on his bedside as he grew more ill. On one side of the bed laid a throw-up bucket, a sign of the worsening condition of my dad. On the other side laid a gift bag with a few presents for my sister. It didn't really seem like a day worth celebrating. As she opened each present, I could see her force a smile on her face. It wasn't that she wasn't grateful for the earrings or the shoes, but it was a constant reminder that what she really wanted, her one birthday wish, couldn't possibly come true. What happened later that day is what I call the disturbance. This event that brings about mortality to an ecosystem and changes the spatial patterning of one's environment. What is most eerie about the disturbance, in my opinion, is the slight warning one might get that the event is about to happen, but the lack of time that there is to truly prepare. In the event of a tsunami, this can be seen as the rapid recession of water levels. Instead of being on a beach, I was in a hospital waiting room. All the signs were there. The worsening of his speech patterns, the throwing up, the complete lack of movement in the right side of his body. Even with all the signs, I was completely unprepared to receive the news that there was nothing left we could do in his treatment, and all we could do was wait to prepare for his passing. The wave came crashing down, and it hit hard on my sister's birthday.
The waves glided forth, creeping up to a predetermined line on the beach and then receding backwards into the saltwater mass of the ocean. Seagulls flew overhead, robbing people of their lunches and fleeing into the cloudless sky. A boy took advantage of the situation to cast his domain. Solid walls spouted from the ground and higher walls. Windows caved into the sides and a massive door materialized in the front. On that day, a small sandcastle came into this world. The boy sat anxiously while the next wave began to creep forth. The urge to protect his masterpiece erupted within him, but he suppressed it. It needed to be able to resist the native waves on its own. Closing his eyes, he wouldn't watch. But his eyes opened, his castle remained standing, and victory was his. As he danced with pride, he noticed that the rhythmic cycle of the waves had ceased. It seemed the waves had a mind to retreat. Instead, the shoreline drew backwards, surely running in despair from the overwhelming might of the boy's superior castle. Sand is a darker shade when wet, so a massive shadow might not be noticed. But the screams drew his attention. The boy looked upwards. To challenge his sandcastle, a very big wave had returned. The boy did not know the proper term for what he saw. Tsunami. The small sandcastle was engulfed. The small boy along with it, the small beach with that, and the small city at last. Sand, dirt, and flotsam mixed with the water as it flooded past the beach and onto the streets. Cars and the people locked inside them. A clear fate. Those lucky enough to be at the altitude to avoid the fate witnessed this catastrophic event. Plenty big enough to destroy a real castle, consumed a city. And when those waves finally receded, there was no laughter to taunt its retreat.
In-service training had finished for the day. Everything was going fine. The school books had all arrived for every class. Each class from preschool through 8th grade was full. People were still registering children, and a lot of people that hadn't registered children were still registering. It looked like we were going to have to hire more teachers. I was busy in my classroom, putting the finishing touches on my bulletin board, when one of the parents came into my classroom. She said, "Is the school closing?" I replied, "Not to my knowledge." She said, that she had gotten a phone call from one of the other parents that the pastor, who was the CEO of the school, made the announcement at the end of Wednesday Bible study. I felt like someone had kicked me in my stomach. I said, "What? He made an announcement over the pulpit to the church, and he's not spoken with the staff? You got to be kidding me." I buzzed the intercom and got no answer, so I walked to the office. It was empty. As I turned around, I see the principal and the school secretary walking down the hall. I walked to meet them, and when I got to her, I blurted out, "Is it true?"
Is it true? Is it true?
And she replied, "Yes. Our last day is August 8th.
Faculty meeting. I heard the union leader stand in front of several hundred teachers and announce, if this next referendum does not pass, they will be cutting all the new staff they hired this year and last year. I caught my breath. I felt a wave of shock. I had just left a tenured position and I had patted myself on the back that this place I had found would give me credit for all those years of experience plus 2 years of teaching. Before that, even credit for earlier work experiences. What public school does that? I whooped it up with my husband when I learned that all that experience had got me a $10,000 salary increase. I had been proud. I had been happy. But now, in that moment, I was just shocked. What the hell had I done? What the hell had I done to my family?
What if this is the end of the world? Like, instead of the year 2012, it was actually 2020. What if God is trying to tell us something and this is the only way to get our attention?
What if this is a lesson? What if this is a blessing? What if we actually use this time to be still, to breathe, inhaling deeply, and exhaling completely?
To cleanse our homes, our hearts, our spirits, our burdens, and untapped into until triggered traumas. What if this was the time to reflect, to love, to be yourself, your authentic self, fully and unapologetically?
What if we found a hidden talent that brought us joy and made the world shine a little brighter? Like finally sharing gifts living in our being and spreading it like a virus, but better because it would give life, not take it.
What if we focused in on what truly matters? Family, loved ones, health, food and shelter, the core, humanity, humankind, and we chose to be both.
Wildfire, wildfire.
What if we focused more on what unites us rather than divides and saw each other as reflections of the love and joy we feel for ourselves?
What if this is just a dream and we're struggling to wake up?
Or a nightmare? Or a sci-fi movie? Or romantic comedy gone wrong?
No, but what if this is just a dream? What if we wake up? When will we wake up?
And rise to our greatness, to our calling, and reach new heights? What if we never go back to being normal? What if life will never ever be our wildest dreams, what they would be like it was before?
What if a dramatic strife was needed in order to resurrect and surface a beautiful new beginning? What if the old ways were broken?
What if, in the end, we came out of this better than before?
In that moment of weakness, you feel like giving up, giving in to others, not knowing your worth, giving up on your dreams, self-doubt, not knowing how to start anew, feeling empty and you can't go on. That's how our personal insecurities get in the way. Feelings like self-hatred, loathing, feeling like you're not good enough for anyone, even yourself. The inner voices in your head that are trying to remind you, hey, you're not good enough to be here. You should go home. You should quit. You're not talented enough. You're not strong enough. You're weak. The voices from your inner demons.
Most days, stillness surrounds me. I see the sun sometimes, at an impersonal distance, through the cracks in my window pane, nonetheless shrouded in darkness that eclipses the light. It has become routine to be stagnant, inert, sitting silently, masked by the shadows of scourge and stricture. My surroundings are null and void, static, invariable. In these confines, there is not much to experience nor to engage with, except the subtle movement of trees waltzing in the wind and the occasional fluttery snowfall. In the absence of this action, the sterility of the landscape overtakes me. I have grown accustomed to my face, and my face only. It greets me in the morning, tucks me into bed at night, and when I feel especially restless, I find it is the only thing in sight. My memories of a past life have thus started to wane, suppressed by the omnipresence of disaster, or perhaps more accurately, its suffocating residuals. To be submerged in oneself is a disquieting affair, especially revelatory in exposing our internalized idiosyncrasies, but while introspection often provokes reconstruction, regeneration, reimagination, I remain unduly bound to what once was and not what may soon be. I gaze romantically outward, but internally, I am not yet rendered anew.
This is a story that's close to us and makes us feel vulnerable. I hope that you take away the wisdom and life lessons we've learned and understand more about us and yourselves. Growing up, emotions and navigating the world had always been a challenge for me. I never understood why it was important to experiment with my individuality and who I am. I was the type of person who strongly relied on myself and put up walls because I'd grown accustomed to the feeling of being alone, or having no one to understand me.
I've been looking at my eyes in the mirror recently, waiting patiently, trying to catch myself blinking. They are deep set, like my father's, like a burrowing animal. Dark under eyes that for years were covered by concealer that smelled like chemicals and spread like mayo.
Within 3 weeks of starting chemo, my hair fell out, and my eyelashes, and the hair on my arms, etc., etc. I looked like a tree that had lost its leaves, or a middle-aged baby, unformed and vulnerable. My husband would look terrified when he saw my bare face and head, So I drew in my eyebrows and bought myself 4 luscious wigs.
I had been in a relationship for the past month, and everything was amazing. I felt untouchable. You know that feeling when everything is just right? You feel like all that matters is the person in front of you? That's how I felt, and it was an amazing feeling. Unfortunately, recently it came to an end, and although I was heartbroken, that wasn't what made it so difficult. Everything had changed after we broke up. They became more distant, they started using drugs again, and I felt hopelessly useless. The worst part came when I found out that the day after we broke up, they were in another relationship proclaiming their love for someone else. This broke me because it was a reminder of the fear I had back in 6th grade that I promised to never put myself through again.
I lied on my learner's permit. I said my eyes were hazel, but recently during my everlasting Zoom calls and extended trips to the bathroom mirror, I've learned that they are green. And after staring at myself in the mirror long enough, my features begin to warp. To the untrained eye, this could be unsettling, but to me, I'm used to it. I'm used to the ways that my eyes sink into their sockets. Their mossy appearance is endearing and subtle, and I'm glad that they're there.
Turns out the things we think are beautiful can be the ugliest things that exist.
Because if you stare at something long enough, you can learn to like it.
You take your face for granted by the time you're in your 50s. There are parts you like, parts you don't. But it is resoundingly you all the same. As I waited for the time when my hair would regrow, I used this dormant period to experiment with other versions of my face.
I notice the way my lips crack and wrinkle, but they are fine and on my face and happy there.
This feeling hurts. I don't want to feel vulnerable. I don't want to feel powerless. But you realize that as you experience these life events, as I experience these life events, I realize I'm not powerless. I'm not alone.
I'm human, a human learning what it means to be a better person, a human learning to accept all parts of me and love it, a human who is vulnerable but understands our emotions are what drive us to the very sense of uniqueness that exists.
I'm realizing that just because I got knocked down or hurt, that's not a good excuse to stop living.
Right? This isn't an excuse to stop learning and growing. Sure, it's a good reason to grieve and cry, but in the end, I will rise. I will redefine and reshape my life, and I will be able to proudly look back on my life events and be happy with how far I came.
Wake up in the morning, birds chirping. I brush my teeth. They told me, keep my teeth clean. I travel in the car to school. School is over. Turn the television on, evening news. A young Black teenager by the name of Laquan McDonald has been shot and killed by a white police officer. Police brutality. That's what they told me. Freedom of speech. Use it. I want to know, am I next?
Am I next?
Next. Am I next?
Today, after the 7 o'clock hour, a young man was shot and killed in the Pearson Hills of Peoria, Illinois. He was later identified as Brian Betts, age 22. That's what the news headlines would say. For that time, you were just another young man lost in the streets, a talent wasted or a flower wilted. From the outside looking in, we were just another face on the news. Those who had only seen your face on the news probably didn't even think twice before going on with their daily lives. But you can't blame them. They've been desensitized. They no longer feel the need to grieve on something that they see every day. We just lose one. I thought after losing 2 of my older cousins to gun violence that a family loss wasn't that painful. I never thought I would have to grieve a family loss again, let alone you, my older brother. Growing up, you're like a firecracker, so brilliant, almost frightening at times. But you also brought grief.
Wake up in the morning, 9:15. Music by No Name, my favorite. She sings, don't hold me, when niggas is dying, and I'm afraid of the dark, blue and the white, badges and pistols rejoice in the night. We watch the news and we see him die tonight.
Am I next?
Am I next?
Am I next?
Next.
Am I next?
One morning, I woke up early to do some work before my class, and I saw the pictures from your funeral. So many people and so much pain. Seeing you in that casket made my already fragile heart shatter right at that moment. That wasn't you. That wasn't my brother. My brother was a light in a dark room. My brother was a glimpse of happiness when you felt sad. That man in that casket was not my brother. The man in that casket was not Bram Jr. Bram Jr. was a father to 6 lives. Bram Jr. was an artist. Bram Jr. was my mom's second son. Bram Jr. was a life taken.
Wake up in the morning, trees rattling, brush my hair, I get on a bus. I'm thankful for the protection when I go to school. School is over. Evening news, 58 people confirmed dead in the Las Vegas attack. Gun violence. That's what they told me. I want to know, am I next?
Next?
Am I next?
Am I next?
Am I?
Since then, everything's been dysfunctional. My mom's been stressed out. She won't eat. She's trying really hard to stay strong for me and my siblings, but we all know she's hurting. She's trying to find the light in this dark situation. My older brother, he's been hurting as well, but he's not doing as good as my mom. His emotions are flying everywhere, and he's not at the home much. He's so angry at the world. Now, my younger siblings, they're handling it pretty well. They're actually really young, so they most likely can't grasp the concept of death yet. Not me. I don't know how I felt most of the time. I wouldn't eat for days at a time, couldn't sleep, slack salivation, and I felt lost. Surrounded by so many people, but nobody heard our cries for help.
Am I next?
Am I next?
Am I next?
Am
I
next?
I can't even walk. Kids can't even play. People on my block are dying every day. Guns are killing us. Why can't we see? We have got to try, 'cause no one wants to die. Gun. We really don't need them. Gun. They do us no good. Gun. No more weapon toys. Gun. We start to train the boys. I can't even walk. Kids can't even play. People on my block are dying every day. Guns are killing us. We have got to see. We have got to try, 'cause no one needs to die.
Will I get over this? Will my heart stop crying? Will my stomach soon unknot? How long does it take?
Continuing, she said,
My loved one died not many weeks ago, and my heart is still raw. How soon can I let go?
Ah, I said, I have lived the same, though decades long ago. I ponder what could have been, what might have been, if only, if only, if only. At times, I've smiled in happiness and screamed out loud in joy, but grief wells up within me again and yet again. It oozes like lethargic lava or shoots explosive fire to the sky. You really want the feelings gone? Get over it, forget it. No, my friend, you never will. You can't. Cherish the put them in a shiny golden frame which covers every wall, or put them in a plain and gentle frame in a tiny, quiet place within your heart. But put them where you can see them every day, meet happiness and joy, meet grief and pain, know the love, yours and theirs. That ruptured chunk of heart will integrate itself into its rightful place as many sharp, dull chunks of rock become the glittering sand. And gradually, like raindrops on the ground, vaporize into the summer air, gone, but still there.
Bop, 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 bop.
Bop, 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 bop. Bop, bop, bop.
Self-love begins. When you give yourself self-love and encouragement, it erases those insecurities. Loving yourself teaches you how to love others, no matter how bad they treat you. It gives you the confidence and strength you need to better yourself. It gives you the courage to go on.
Ah, my head.
Where are you?
I'm in Mr. Matthews' math class.
Oh my God.
Oh, I'm on the 20-yard line of a green football field.
Mr. Sanders, can you take these off?
Oh, I saw my mother's face, the fear and the pain. She reached to my waist and put off my sweaty, stinky girdle pants.
I should have washed those things.
In a daze, I rest on my knees, sitting on a charcoal-colored marley floor. I can feel the vibration of 6 other dancers landing in perfect sync, without me. As they leave me behind, I regain my senses, hearing gasps from the audience instead of their applause. This has never happened to me in practice, let alone on stage during a live dance competition. The audience covers their mouths, and I sit with them with the same worry and confusion. The stage lights seem more blinding than usual, and the floor seems unforgivingly colder. The music also appears to be faster, maybe because I found myself chasing after it. I've been practicing for this dance competition for so long, yet I still managed to mess up one of the most important leaps in the choreography. As one of the most reliable girls in my dance team, everyone looks up to me for confidence and reassurance. They've always looked up to me. but as I fell, I found myself looking up to them. They all managed to perform that jump, and they did so with such grace. This bittersweet feeling of happiness was interrupted by a sharp pain stemming from my ankle. As I try to get back up, my ankle retorts with another searing strain. Now the feeling of hopelessness started to overwhelm me. By the simple act of falling, I've already forfeited the trophy and disappointed my team members. At this point, we might not even make it to the top 5. So what would be the point of continuing?
Wildfire.
Wildfire, wildfire, wildfire.
Wildfire, Shedrick.
Wildfire. Wildfire.
Wildfire, wildfire.
Oh my God. I'm in the emergency room at Rosa Community Hospital. I've had a concussion. I'll no longer be able to play football. And I didn't grow to be 6 feet tall anyway, like Bob James. I had to go to plan B. I sat in my mother's kitchen while she was picking peas. And I wrote down every grade that I would need in every class that I took in order to be able to get the 4.0 grade point average to get to the National Honor Societies. When I told my friends, they laughed at me. They said, "You'll never make it." They knew I hated mathematics, and they knew that English was something that I really hated. And they knew to get an A in chemistry, honors chemistry, would be impossible. So I changed my attitude about about English, decided to treat it like mathematics. I studied it first every day. Every day, I studied and studied and studied. I went to my English teachers and I told them, "I need your help." And they would look at me and they say, "That's what I'm here for, to help you." And they did. So I reached my goals, my sophomore and junior year. All I had to do now was to get an A from the toughest teacher in the state.
But I could still hear the pounding of the marly floor from my teammates, calling for me to get back up. How could I give up now when they didn't miss a beat from my mistake? With this newfound determination, I pushed myself to stand, the pain of my ankle trying to pull me back onto the ground, but I wouldn't let it. What type of example would I set, letting a little pain stop me?
Ooh, I am alive, I am alive. I am alive, I am alive.
If you want to be somebody, you better wake up and pay attention.
Hope. When we see hope, we see light. We see a symbol that gets rid of that darkness. Hope gives us the courage to rebuild, telling ourselves it's okay to change, to start over, to have a new identity from our past selves.
Sit here. These are your people. You come from tailors and jewelers and farmers. One of your grandfathers was a surgeon general. One grandmother smoked cigars. Two were poets. Another gave speeches around town urging the vote. Who will you be? Sit down, Socrates said. What will you leave behind? Who will you become if you are to better me? What will you take with you? What do you leave in your stead? My lilies arrive after my peonies, after the African violets, leaving the rose of Sharon and golden oak, dripping sepia on my doorstep. What will you say if they rewrite how the seasons flow, how the moon turned? Because it's not possible. Sit down and tell me who you are.
Last week, I had shared out what was one thing I wouldn't change for the world. I said I wouldn't change my sister for the world. My sister has CP, which means she is physically disabled. I use my voice going around to teach others not only on her disabilities, but I speak up on all disabilities. I know they deserve respect, and others shouldn't be looked at differently, because truly we all are unique in our own way. My sister has taught me an important life lesson. She has showed me to never judge a person for how they look. My sister looks different, but she has an amazing personality. My sister has also inspired me to build a robot in the future to help people with disabilities experience what we experience.
When you go in public, have you ever encountered negative comments from people? And what do you say?
Yes, when I go in public, I experience negative comments and even negative looks towards my sister. I don't really say anything because mostly those comments come from little kids, and of course, little kids will be curious. One comment I hear mostly is, why is she in a wheelchair? And it is not my right to go ahead and educate other people's children. That is the parents' duty to teach their child not to judge a person for who they are.
How has your sister inspired you?
My sister has inspired me to build a robot. She has also inspired me to speak and teach others on disabilities because people with disabilities get looked at differently in general. And I believe that's just not right. And with the robot, ever since I was a little girl, I always wanted to make something for my sister. And over the time, I created a name and started coming up with more ideas. So in the future, I will be creating a robot that will be called a Dispot, and it will be able to help people with disabilities experience what we experience, and they'll be able to control the robot by themselves.
Hmm. Is she verbal? How does she communicate with you? And how does she communicate out in the community?
Yes, she is verbal. When she is home, she speaks to me and my family verbally, but when she is not at home and she's going to school, she has this thing called a Dynavox, and it is programmed for her eyes. So whatever she looks at, it will talk about it. So for example, if she has to use the bathroom, she can look at the words and it will speak it.
If there was one thing you can say about your sister, what would be your message to the world?
I would definitely say People with disabilities should not be looked at differently because they are humans, and people with disabilities are truly God's blessing and God's gift on earth. They're literally angels, and they have a disability for a reason. They are special. And I heard so many stories from other people who have like encountered people with disabilities, whether being their friend or being buddies with them in school, and they have changed them. I know my sister brings me so much joy, and with other people's story, I've heard that people with that they have worked with have bring them
Wow,
with
you just ate
disabilities
a
have
whole
bring
bunch
them
of
so
food.
much joy. And
Get
I
one more
know
piece. It's in the stove.
people with
One
disabilities
more piece, Tristan.
bring so much happiness to the world. They are here for a reason, and they're truly special. They are angels on this earth. And I want to create a place of acceptance for all. And I'm so thankful to have someone in my life like my sister.
Have you ever looked in the mirror and the person on the other side said, yuck, what happened to you? I can remember dancing in the mirror, smiling and twirling around and admiring myself as I got ready for him. It was always beautiful music. Luther crooning away, love the one you're with, and never too much. I was in love. He was brown-skinned, handsome, intelligent, and sensual. You remember? Me, young, fresh, innocent, and ready to be in love. Maybe a little too desperate to be in love. You know, some days we didn't even go to work. Or if we went, we came home early. And we just spent time with each other. Hey, baby, let's go to the lake. Sure. Our days were just that simple. The small things, just the two of us, just the two of us. But as the summer was coming to a close, I noticed that it was always just the two of us. Who were his friends, his folks? But I pushed it aside. I wanted to be in his arms. I wanted to be with him. Well, as the fall holidays came and went, so did we. Labor Day, Columbus Day, all no shows. Thanksgiving and my birthday was approaching, and I was sure we were going to spend time together. Just before Thanksgiving, baby, I'm going to be out of town all next week. This time every year, I go hunting with a bunch of my frat brothers. Frat brothers? Now, don't get all excited. When I come back, I'll make it up to you. I just forgot to tell you. I knew then I just wanted to kick him in his balls. Just tell me, how does a relationship go from sweetness and ice cream and champagne to piss and vinegar? Now, I'm wondering, what happened to me?
Cause we like to party.
Cause we like to party.
We like to party.
When spring comes and I finally get outside, I direct my thoughts and even my words at the soil. Close to Easter, I always imagine that I am grooming the earth for the holidays, like I am prettying a child for Easter Sunday, raking away its tangled twigs and sticks churning and turning in a layer of peat, a handful of crushed eggshells, and a dusting of blood meal. Then laying out a perfect cover of red or brown mulch. Sometimes I follow up by adding sprays of fresh store-bought annuals like ribbons and bows. My garden has soothed my anguish, and my anxiety has been my friend. Whenever my external situations seem the roughest, it is this image which gives me strength, standing again among crocuses. I'm still always surprised when things start to bloom. Plants seeded long ago, but forgotten soon, because I tilled the earth and watered the row, and I set down the root, but I accepted snow. I didn't hold my breath, though I did trust to the light. My dreams were shuttered quietly out of sight, with just faith to give me comfort. And soon I didn't even long. But today, hope started rising on a foundation strong. More beauty than I hoped for has opened to my view, until the color that blooms around me, the color that surrounds me, the color that swirls around me, has woke my soul anew.
Engine number 9, running down Chicago line. If the train to jump the track, do you want your money back?
Chants the group of girls in harmony, each sitting on the steps of our house, wearing t-shirts, halter tops, and colorful shorts with braided hair with vibrant barrettes.
Double Dutch tag.
Red Rover. Red light. Green light.
The boys played basketball endlessly.
Hey, I got next game.
He's on my
Woo, good play, man.
Defense, guard your man in your face.
There were multiple walks to the corner store where a sundry of items such as real penny candy could be picked out.
Red Hot, Bitter Honeys, ooh, Mary Jane's.
And my favorites, Jawbreakers.
Neighborhood delicacies like hot bags, ketchup bags, which were potato chips with ketchup and hot sauce. This is how we spent our nickels and dimes. We would yell,
"Carbs!"
in an attempt to share in the purchased goodies. Sitting on the popular family's porch gave way to homemade treats like
icy cups, sugary Kool-Aid frozen in paper cups,
and pickles with peppermint sticks stuck in them.
Sticky hands and tinted tongues.
we listened to music and practiced the latest dance craves, the jerk, the twine, slow dances, and the forbidden grind. The adults did dances with style like steppin' or the bop. They would partner up and spin and dip and twirl with precise footwork like that of Fred Astaire or Michael Jackson. Motown music was the most popular, but jazz and blues jumped in as the evenings got cooler and mellow.
Ooh, the Temptations and Miles Davis.
Miracles.
Marvin Gaye and Mavis Staples.
Supremes.
And my all-time favorite, Little Stevie Wonder.
As the evening approaches, moms and dads, the grown-ups, return home and congregate. The smell of grilling wafted through the neighborhood. Hot dogs and hamburgers for the kids, but world-class barbecue for the adults to enjoy while sipping cold beer and having conversations. Politics and sports were topics among the men, while the women often shared gossip or discussed fashion and church activities.
Girl, she ought to be ashamed of herself. That dress, didn't her daughter just have on that dress the other day?
Tumbleweed.
Anthony, wildfire.
Wildfire, Daphne, wildfire.
Child, Sister Charlotte really sang that song. I hope you make your Sakatumi cake for the bake sale. Bulls, bears, sox, or cubs. Each person had a vivid account and opinion of how they recalled a sport or contest, some spanning decades from the actual occurrence.
Oh, man, did you see that play?
RT every minute.
Boy, Serena is fine. She
Allie
plays
will,
tennis like a beast.
Allie will always be the greatest of all time. Hell, he invented the term himself.
Sometimes neighbors would organize a bid whist game. Spades for those outside my culture. A competition? No, a rivalry. These were intense card games where skillfulness, talent, and flair were developed over years of practice and endurance through familiar and regional ritual. Families and communities' reputations lived on the legends and folklore of a bid whist game. You picked your partner more carefully than you chose your spouse. And the loyalty and faithfulness makes this game rank far above a mere marriage commitment.
I got a pat head, baby. You gonna sport the kitty? I got a Boston. I can do it. 4 uptown.
These are scenes from my childhood. What happened? Let's really make America great
again.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Let's make it great again.
Let's make it great again.
Yes, let's make it greater.
Let's make it great again.
Really great again.
Really make it great again.
I got a ticket for the long way round. 2 bottles of whiskey for the way. And I sure would like some sweet company. And I'm leaving tomorrow. What do you say? When I'm gone, when I'm gone. You're gonna miss me when I'm gone. You're gonna miss me by my hair. You're gonna miss me everywhere. Oh, I know you're gonna miss me when I'm gone. When I'm gone, when I'm gone. You're gonna miss me when I'm gone. You're gonna miss me by my walk. You're gonna miss me by my talk. Oh, I know you're gonna miss me when I'm gone.
Congratulations, that is the Winter 2021 InterGens Ensemble. I'm going to invite everybody to come back on the screen so we can have a round of virtual applause. Congratulations all. That was incredible. Great work. Once YouTube is done processing this video, please go visit. There's so much love in the chat, and I encourage all the audience members to throw your applause and affirmations in there as well. I'd like to take just a moment to thank all of you for your incredible work over the past 7 weeks. All of this was made in the last 7 weeks, meeting once a week. They've all done an incredible job, and I think their work really shone through today. I'd also like to thank our sponsors who make all of this work possible. All education programs at the Goodman are completely free to all participants, and they always will be because of the generous support we get from our donors and our sponsors. So thank you for that. We're gonna take just a moment. Once
we
we end.
thank Liam and Deb Lewis for guiding us through this process. Whoa.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you.
This has been an
Thank
awesome and
you.
fun
Liam. Thank you,
experience.
Deb.
Well, we're gonna
Thank you,
stick
Deb.
around and take some time to say goodbye to each other. But
Well-
I'm gonna let Deb have the last word, and then we're gonna close out this live stream. Deb,
Lem, I wish you would let me be seen because I haven't been seen at any of the times.
you got it. I'll do that too. Go ahead, Deb.
I'm always amazed at how things come together, and this group has been exceptional. Just the depth and breadth of the work that has come out of everything that they've done. And I want to thank each of you for bringing everything you have. And I want to thank you for your trust in Liam and I and in each other. I don't think any of this could have happened without that trust. Deepest thank you.
And if you want to join the next InterGens Ensemble, I'll go ahead and drop the application link in the chat. We start in just 2 weeks, and we hope to see you there. Thanks, everybody.